The summer heat was intense, as it often is on the high plains. We were riding up a narrow ridge, the pine trees giving way to the scrubby brush of the valley below. As we crested the rise, my guide, Wolf Voice, a Cheyenne man who spoke our language as clearly as he did his own, pointed toward a small log cabin in the distance. His voice was soft, respectful. He said simply, "That's Two Moon's place." As we drew closer, we came to a fork in the road. One path veered left, passing the corner of a wire fence, while the other led straight ahead, through a dry patch of field. We almost took the left path, but a man at the cabin door, waving a blanket, signaled for us to take the right. As we followed his directions, we found Two Moon himself, spreading blankets under the meager shade of his cabin. Around him, a few younger Cheyenne men were grinding sickles, and children were playing near the little barn. The place had a certain barren quality, much like the land itself. Dry, unyielding, and yet full of life in its own quiet way. It was not a rich man's home, not by any stretch. It was a place marked by struggle and survival. When we dismounted and walked up to the door, Two Moon came out to meet us. His greeting was warm, his voice deep and steady, carrying a note of both authority and kindness. His handshake was firm and respectful, and without hesitation, he motioned for us to sit on the blankets he'd laid out for us. It was a quiet and dignified welcome, marked by a sense of honor that's rare to find nowadays. As we sat down, he produced tobacco and a pipe, preparing it with a calm methodical pace. Two Moon was a tall man, even in his older years, and there was a strength in the way he carried himself, a sense of purpose. His complexion was a rich, clear brown, and his body, though aged, still carried the broad chest and erect posture of someone accustomed to leadership. His face was lined, but his smile was warm, and there was a quiet confidence in his eyes. He had the look of someone who had seen much, who had lived through things most men wouldn't understand. Wolf Voice, my interpreter, relayed my request to him. Two Moon, I said, I've come to hear your story about the battle at the Little Bighorn. I've heard you were one of the chiefs there. Afterward, I'd like to take a few photographs of you, if you'd be willing. I'd like to see you signal with a blanket, as the old chiefs used to do. The words traveled through Wolf Voice, and Two Moon listened intently, nodding his head thoughtfully. The sounds of comprehension he made, ai, ho, aya, were not just words but breaths of recognition, deep and heavy, as if the memories themselves were stirring inside him. For a moment, the old man was silent. I could see his mind was already turning back to those days long past. The air around us seemed to thicken as his thoughts drifted away from the present. There was no hurry in his speech when he finally began. His voice was slow and deliberate, as if each word carried weight. I don't like to speak of those times, he began, his voice quieter now. But since you've come, and because I know you are a friend of Grinnell, I will tell you. It has been many years now, and my words do not come quickly, but I will speak the truth. He took a long pause, as though gathering the strength to reach back into the past. Then, with a heavy sigh, he continued. I was camped on Powder River that spring, in 1876, with 50 lodges of my people, the Cheyennes. It was near what is now called Fort McKinney. One morning, soldiers came at us. We didn't expect them, and we scattered in the chaos, leaving our ponies behind. The soldiers rounded them up, drove them away. But when the soldiers rested that night, they left the horses behind, so we crept in and took them back. Then we moved on. He paused again, his face darkening with the memory. We traveled for days, and one morning, we met the Sioux at Charcoal Butte. We camped with them, and it was good. We had plenty of grass, good game, and fresh water. Crazy Horse was the chief then. Sitting Bull was camped downriver, near the Little Missouri. Crazy Horse came to me and said, I'm glad you're here. We will fight the white man once more. The gravity in his words hung in the air as he spoke. It wasn't the eager tone of a man longing for battle, but the somber acceptance of one who had already known too much of it. I was ready, Two Moon continued. I had already lost much, my people killed, my horses taken. I had nothing left but to fight. He drew a circle with his finger, as if placing a mark on the land itself. I thought, at that time, that the Great Spirits had placed the Sioux here, he pointed to one side, and the white men and Cheyennes here, he pointed to the other. And they expected us to fight. To them, it was like a game, a play. He paused, as though considering the vastness of it all, then spoke again. In May, when the grass was tall and the horses were strong, we moved on. We crossed the country to the mouth of the Tongue River. Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, all of us together, went up the Rosebud, and we met General Crook's soldiers there. We fought them, and we won. The soldiers took heavy losses. We didn't lose many, but it was a hard fight. The smoke and dust were thick. He gave me a long look, his eyes clouded by the weight of those memories. After that, we moved over the divide and camped by the Little Horn. We all thought, now we are far from the white man's land. We can live in peace here. We were hopeful, but we were wrong. The old chief leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he relived the moment. One morning, while I was at camp near Sitting Bull, a Sioux rider came up and said, "Get ready, everybody. The soldiers are coming." There was no time for preparation, no time for dancing as we had thought. We were thrown into the fire. His voice grew more urgent as he recalled the battle. I called for my people to stay and fight. I said, "I am Two Moon, your chief. Do not run away. We must stay and fight, even if it means our deaths." His words were steady now, each one weighted with the strength of a leader who had seen too much loss, but who still understood the importance of standing firm in the face of danger. He described the battle, how the Sioux and Cheyenne warriors moved in a swirling motion, encircling the soldiers as they fired their weapons. "We shot fast, rode fast," Two Moon said. The soldiers dropped, one after another. There was a man on a sorrel horse, riding up and down, shouting. He was brave, that one. I didn't know who he was, but he kept his men together, right up to the end. There was a sense of finality in his voice as he continued, recounting how the soldiers were overwhelmed. At the end, there were only a handful of soldiers left, trying to make their way toward the river. But one by one, they fell. He paused, reflecting for a moment before continuing. The next day, we counted the dead. There were 388 soldiers. Only a few Sioux and Cheyenne had been killed. We did not dance that night. We were sorrowful. Two Moon's face was unreadable now, his mind far from the battlefield. That was a long time ago. I am old now. My thoughts have changed. I no longer wish to fight. I want to see my people live in peace, to see them building homes, raising cattle, learning the ways of the white man's world. He turned to me then, his gaze direct, yet soft. Our people need to be protected. The land should be ours, and the young men should stay with us. Then there will be no more trouble. I want to see my people thrive, to go to school, to have a future. That is all. And with that, the story of the battle was finished. Two Moon had shared his truth, his way of thinking, a man who had lived through conflict and loss, but who had never lost sight of the importance of peace and the future. His people were no longer living the harsh life of the plains, but his thoughts were no less powerful. His was a quiet wisdom, one that comes only with the passing of years and the weight of a life well lived.